Welcome to day one of my spiritual systems once a day for every day of September to celebrate the year of the snake here. And today we will be covering none other than the Dragon's Path. And this is part of my world record attempt for creating the most amount of spiritual disciplines founded by a single individual. Now, disclaimer here, some people may follow the Dragon's Path under this name, but not adhere to the system that I am using. That is totally understandable, fair, and valid. However, the paths that I've seen along my journey and the definitions thereof have completely confused me in my practice. Therefore, this month I will be sharing with you how my dragons have helped me understand the many paths of the dragon. And today's episode will be segregated or set up into chapters, okay? We will have number 1, the guide, number 2, the notes, number 3, the basics, number 4, how anyone of any belief system can adapt this path. So like if you're atheist, polytheist, or monotheist, etc. And then lastly, my tips and tricks. So all of the timestamps will be on the page or in the description for you, so you can just have whatever you'd like. And all of my notes and everything will have extra deep dives on Patreon, my website, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, Amino, TikTok, Discord, all of it, okay? Like these are meant to be thorough for you to enjoy. Okay, we're going to make sure that you understand the dragon by the end of September, okay? So if you want access to these notes here I'm reading from, they will be free for you on my Patreon, but let us get right on into this video. So part 1 of this video is the guide to the Dragon's Path. Now, this is the dragon path in my systems that I say many are on and don't even know, for it is the path of the following of the dragons, right? So the dragon's path is very intuitively guided in the sense that many people don't realize that they are on a dragon's path, but they are following that dragon. They are like have a relationship or a bond with dragons. They might follow a particular dragon deity like Tiamat or Jormungandr, for example, or they are just moved and feel drawn to the dragon, right? So a little bit more detail is one can walk the dragon's path not knowing it, and also fully aware they are on the path for you to be with the dragons. It is, again, like about feeling connected to and bonded with the dragons. That is what really sets the dragon's path like in its own lane, in the sense of like there are many other objectives in other dragons paths, but like, or any other like spiritual practices with dragons, but the dragon's path specifically is very much about the intimate bond between the practitioner and the dragons. So this path is based off of intuition, instinct, and the calling of the dragons. Some would say that this is a very emotionally driven part or type of dragon spirituality. And we have a path often solo guided only by their love and kinship with the dragons, with little to none of it they have ever really shared with others. That is going to be a huge telltale sign that you are already on the dragon's path, is if simply you kind of keep it really close to your heart and you don't really share it with other people, but it is a huge part of your day-to-day life. So on this Dragon Paths guide here, we have beliefs, okay? And typically only believes in the dragons or resonates with their myths and history, or has loved them since childhood, often doesn't know what's true other than dragons are real. And that is just to illustrate how those who are on the dragon's path might not really have anything or many things that they're certain about in life, except one thing that they have absolute, steadfast, unshakable faith in, is that the dragons are real in some way, shape, or form, or they believe in them in some way, shape, or form. And next we have practice, okay? So typically only follows where the dragons lead them, because each dragon will be so unique. No two paths of the dragon will be the same. And I just really want to emphasize this too moving forward, is that the dragon's path, because of how intuitive and solo and unique it is by nature, the practice of it is going to be so very different based on practitioner to practitioner, right? So here we have the purpose, which is typically one follows the dragon's path to simply answer the call of the dragon. And many don't know why they're on the path, but they just love the dragons or feel at home with the dragons. And that is usually the purpose of the dragon's path. You know, there's lots of other objectives with other types of dragon practices and faith and spiritual practices, but when it comes to the dragon's path in particular, it's very much one that people naturally walk intuitively to feel close with the dragons, truly. And how to start, let's see. If you are watching this video, you might already be on the path. Simply follow your heart to find the dragons. And that is truly my best tip for beginning the dragon's path, is just to follow your heart and to really allow yourself to see, what does the dragon mean for you? How do you resonate with the dragon? And is the dragon something that completes your life, or do you feel like your life is hollow without the dragon? Because if that's the case, then you're probably already on the dragon's path. But anyway, this is part 2 of the video. We have my dragon paths notes here, and this is what makes my version of the dragon path that I have founded and created with my dragon guardians different and unique to the other versions or other defined systems outside of me, and my understanding of the dragon's path. And this is basically, just to reiterate, some people might follow the dragon's path under the same name with a different definition, which is completely valid. You don't have to use my systems whatsoever. These are just how I have worked over decades in my craft to better understand the various spiritual practices with dragons and to better categorize them, because my brain is really it needs categories, or I get messed up. So this is how we have come to categorize the practices over my practice with my dragons. So that's where I'm coming from, okay? Please, everybody, you're so welcome to share your version of the dragon's path in the comments down below. But number 1 is this is where, in terms of my systems, there is all dragon witches begin on the dragon's path in terms of my system definitions, because it's just basically where we start out, even if we're intuitively walking the dragon's path and we don't necessarily know it, right? So this is the dragon's path led by emotions, instinct, and intuition, right? For the most part, it is a feeling-based endeavor. It's something that we walk to feel closer with the dragons, feel bonded with the dragons, and feel at home with the dragons, to tap into our draconic instincts in the way of, how do you want to move through the world? How do you embrace your dragon roar? How do you fly in the sky with your dragons? How do you ride your dragons? All of these things are very sometimes instinctual based, right? So excuse me, I'm just gonna adjust the camera here. But that's kind of where we're coming from in terms of what the dragon's path is. So formed mostly on personal, intimate, and or private connections to the dragons. So this particular path is going to usually revolve around primarily the bonds that a practitioner has with their dragons, more so than anything else. And there's a focus on instincts and obtaining attributes of the dragon through devotion and faith. So what I mean by that is, the more that we allow ourselves to kind of lose our mind and return to our dragon senses, which is essentially just embodying yourself fully in your being, right? Getting really in touch with your sensations is how we can expand our natural senses into making them dragon-like. So for example, dragon sight, it is about expanding our awareness of sight so much in a way that it becomes that of the dragon. I hope that explains that, but if you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will answer all of the questions that you have about these systems. So next we have ultimately completely unique and typically a path followed solitary by a practitioner and their dragons. So this is going to be a path that is likely walked by yourself. You're not going to find usually excuse me, you're not going to find usually like a group of dragon witches following the dragon's path together. They're all going to be dragon witches and follow the dragon's path in their own way and maybe collaborate with each other and like share each other's ideas, but it's usually very rare that like a group of like dragon witches are actively following the dragon's path in the way that I am defining it and have been taught by my dragon guardians. And then we have connects of the following, or consists of the following, excuse me: belief in the dragons being real, having a deep love for the dragons, and feeling called to the dragon. All are extremely important on the dragon's path. And usually that is going to be your telltale sign that you are on the dragon's path rather than say like a draconian path, right? Like, because the draconian path has a different focus of like more so self-transformation and evolution and all of that, like the pursuit of self-higher faculties, where the dragon's path is really just a deep yearning for the dragon and for being close to the dragon and being, you know, encapsulated by the dragon and watched over by the dragon. And it really varies from practitioner to practitioner, but often is a natural dragon witch, dragonkin, or dragon soul, but is usually a deep dragon lover. So this is where most of our spiritual connections with dragons start, is on the dragon's path, when we are simply a lover of dragons, have an obsession with dragons, and feel a spiritual connection to the dragon realms. And lastly, for this chapter, we has an unshakable affinity with the dragons, often finding dragons are their only safe place. So if you were growing up as a child and felt like you only really had safety within the dragons, the chances are you've been on the dragon's path for a very long time. So next we're going to move into part 3 of this video, which is going to be the dragon path's basics and how you can just basically get started on this practice, how to get started with the fundamental basics of the dragon's path to begin today if you desire to practice the dragon's path after this video. This is how you start. Okay, ready? So number 1, this is the path of the dragon with truly no form or instruction to it. The only objective is the personal connection to or expression with the dragons. That's it. That is really the only thing that you have to start with, and you have to understand, how do you feel connected to the dragons? Do you like to express yourself as a dragon? Do you feel called to dragon identity, like ultra-human identity? Do you feel called to becoming the dragon, to being with the dragon, to being just at home with the dragon? If that's the case, you're already starting the dragon's path, okay? So number 2, if someone loves dragons and is guided by them or their symbolism without any labels, understanding, or formal training, this is called wandering the dragon's path, according to my dragon guardians. And this is a really good like benchmark to understand if you are already on the dragon's path, because some people think that they just like really love dragons and they're called to dragons, but like they don't really actually realize that many of the actions that they take, the beliefs they have, and the practices they hold are very, very much in tune with the dragon's path already, and some would argue are already part of the dragon's path. And that is something that I wanted to point out in this video, just because there are many of you who are watching who have been on the dragon's path far longer than you realize, and that is like hugely what my channel represents, because I've been working with dragons ever since I was born. People like don't really believe that, but like my dad has always just really encouraged my magic and my wonder and my imagination, and has always like encouraged like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and like the study of nature and all of that. And because of my dad's encouragement and nurturing of my magic, like that's why I've always had this connection with dragons, right? And some people have their own connection with dragons ever since they were little too, and like that's just what I want to really emphasize in today's video of this beginner guide, because if that is your story, you've been on the dragon's path far longer than you realize. But number 3 is that the chances are someone following the dragon's path by heart or spirit or guts alone likely has a dragon horde of some kind, be it a collection of dragons, like dragon statues or dragon like anything, or perhaps a book collection or crystal collection or an oddity collection too, right? So chances are, if you are attracted to dragons and you're on the dragon's path without realizing it, you're probably not minimalistic, okay? Like, you probably really like to collect certain things and hoard certain things because it brings you joy, okay? It's like it does something for the brain. I don't know, man. I just know that if you're on the dragon's path, you probably hoard some things, okay? That's all I have to say for that part. But number 4, we have, there are truly never any rules on the dragon's path. So beware those who try to define your path for you, as the point is to deeply feel the dragon, okay? And everybody's journey with dragons is going to be different, even if you disagree with them. There are many people who work with dragons who do so in a very public way that I vehemently disagree with, and I think it is very dangerous what they teach. But ultimately, they're on a dragon path too, and it isn't my authority to say if they are or not on the dragon's path. That is for the dragons to decide, do you understand? And so my point is that no two dragons' paths are ever going to be the same, and to try and define them as having to be the same or having to be a certain way or fit in a certain box or the whole can and cannot thing, that doesn't belong in the dragon's path, okay? That is a part of organized religion that's a little bit different, that has rules and stuff like that. That's not what the dragon's path is. The dragon's path is the absolute freedom of choice, okay? So like, let's just never forget that. And then number 5, for many, their purpose with dragons is to begin and continue shape-shifting, and it changes them for all, like for the rest of their lifetime, for the betterment of the collective. Their purpose is to shapeshift and evolve for raising the vibration here on Earth. And number 6 is the dragon is hard to define. So those who are in a bond, guidance, and counsel of dragons is already walking the dragon's path, okay? So because it's so difficult to define the dragon and different types of dragon paths, if ultimately you're not too sure how to define your practice or what it kind of is, then if you are simply learning about dragons and, you know, have a bond with the dragons in whatever way that looks like to you, if you are guided by them and get counsel from the dragons, either through their symbolism or through dreams or anything like that, then according to my dragon guardian's understanding, you are already on the dragon's path. And number 7, we have a huge emphasis is on getting out into nature to ground, honor the land, and have dragon encounters. That is one of the biggest points of the dragon's path, is to get out into nature, not be afraid of nature, and develop a intimate connection with nature, because it is the absolute best place to connect with the dragons. It is where they live in nature, and by spending time outside, even like, you know, how I'm on my front yard right now, like just like in my grass and stuff like that, like it's still good to spend this time with the dragons. So next we have part 4, which is the dragon's path for all, and the following is a breakdown for how each type of believer can navigate the dragon's path for themselves, meaning it doesn't matter how you believe in the unseen or if you believe in the unseen at all, you can walk the dragon's path, and this is what that might look like for you. So for those of you who are atheist, this is what the dragon's path might look like for you. For those who believe not within a higher power, so if you don't believe in a higher power, the dragon's path is one of the following: the dragon's instinct within and the calling of the dragon as more personal and symbolic of nature forces than anything else. Okay, so that's what it might look like for you if you're an atheist. If you are a polytheist, the dragon's path for those who believe in multiple divine deities or higher powers, the dragon's path is one for the practitioner to discover various dragon spirit guides and perhaps even dragon deities that one may even feel called to worship. This is about connecting with all of these different divine entities that you are able to connect with, and that is what the dragon's path might look like for a polytheist. But if you're monotheistic, this is what it might look like for you. For those who believe in only one divine power as the creator source, then the dragon's path may be seen as a gift from God, and the dragons are but signs, symbols, and spirits of his vast creation. The dragons may worship God together with the practitioner and even pray with them. And in some cases, some people believe there's only one God and God is a dragon. Okay, so that might be what the dragon's path looks like for you if you're monotheistic. Now, if you're an omnist, the dragon's path, for those who believe that all religions have truth in them, the dragons will simply be confirmation of your beliefs, for you'll see them in everything, and they are so very compatible with omnistic ideals. And if you are on the dragon's path for an amnist, what that might look for you is for those who believe everything has a consciousness or a spirit, then the dragon's path may look like intuitively connecting with the dragon spirits within all of creation and tap into the essence within all of creation, no matter how big or small. That means you might work with a car dragon. That means you might work with a paint dragon, okay? You might look at all essence and energy as dragons. That's what the dragon's path might look like for you if you're an amnist. And if you aren't really sure what you believe in, the best thing that you can do is take your time and really explore all different types of belief systems and see which one resonates, because there's really no right or wrong way. You have free will for a reason, and that's to choose your experience for you. So don't let anyone make you feel like there's a right or wrong way to decide, and there's always a way for anyone, both atheist, polytheist, monotheist, omnist, animist, agnostic, etc., to work with the dragons. So take your time in discovering which one works for you. And lastly, for part 5 of this video, we will have my tips. These are my dragon path tips for those of you guys to see tips, tricks, and reminders for staying on the dragon's path and identifying if you are already on the dragon's path. So we have, if you love dragons and feel spiritually connected to them, and even feel like you might already have dragons around you, then you already are walking the dragon's path. Merry meet and welcome. So that is probably my biggest takeaway for today's episode here first in the dragon's path, is that if you feel like any sort of way that you might already be encountering dragons or working with dragons or walking with dragons, my friend, merry meet and welcome, for you are already on the dragon's path. And next we have, if you feel very lonely in your love and faith in the dragons, then you are already on the path as well. Something that really sets us apart as being on the dragon's path is simply having a deep love, reverence, and connection with the dragons, and feeling very isolated or othered or ostracized for that love and connection, right? So we also have, the second you try to limit what the dragon is or isn't, can or cannot do, then you've already fallen off the dragon's path. But it's an easy fix by simply not limiting the dragons. So that is how we make sure that we stay on the path. And as long as you are doing your best and not limiting the dragons, even if you feel like you've fallen off the path, you actually haven't fallen off the path, okay? So just wanted to make that very clear. And then we also have, whatever you do, if you feel close at home with the dragons, you're doing it right, even if it's different, okay? So if you're doing the dragon's path the way other people tell you that you have to, and it doesn't feel right, you don't feel connected to the dragons, then you're doing it wrong. But if you are on the dragon's path and you're practicing in a way that other people have never really heard before, seen, or understood, and they don't get it, but you feel connected to the dragons, then you're practicing correctly, okay? That, no debate, all right? So then next we have, remember, your path with the dragons is only one of one, no matter what labels you choose for the true dragon's path, or is for between you and the dragons, okay? The true path of the dragons, the true dragon's path, is one that is between you and the dragons. No one else has any say in that. No one else has any authority over your practice with the dragons. Do you understand? The dragon's path is about the dragons having authority over you and your life, period, okay? I do not care what anyone else has to say about that. Next we have, if dragons have always felt like your safe space, your comfort, and your home, you're already walking the dragon's path, okay? That means you are so deeply called to this practice that it is second nature to you, right? And lastly, if you have had imaginary friends as a child, then you've likely known your dragon guardians since you were very little for your entire life and could likely reconnect to them as an adult on the dragon's path with conscious effort if you have lost your connection. So that is my complete beginner's guide to the dragon's path as I understand it from the way that my dragon guardians have taught me. Your version of the dragon's path might be a little bit different, and that is absolutely okay. Please let me know what you think about the dragon's path in the comment section below. And if you want to learn more about the dragon's path and just really get all the information out of today's episode, don't forget to check all the links in the description, as there will be a little bit more about the dragon's path on all of my platforms via TikTok, Instagram, as well as Patreon, my website, Facebook, Tumblr, Discord, and Amino, and maybe even more. It's just to add as much as I really can, make it free for you guys, because everybody deserves dragons. That is what this September spiritual system a day is for, in honor of the year of the snake, is genuinely just to remind everybody that everyone deserves dragons just as you want them. And there's more than enough space for everybody to practice how they want, define themselves as they want, and I really hope that this system helped you. So I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be covering dragon magic without a K tomorrow, so you're definitely going to want to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. But if you're new here, assalamu alaikum, merry meet, and welcome back to your daily dose of DragonFaether. My name is Azura DragonFaether, the Draconic Priestess, and I've been working with dragons since the 90s, developing these systems so I could better understand the magic of dragons. And now I have a version of them created just for you to enjoy if you have nowhere to begin with the dragons. But I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll see you in the Hatchling Clan. If you have any questions, make sure you join us there. It's for free. But until next time, stay geeky chick every geeky chick every geeky chick every little hatchlings. Ding. But anyway, Gaddafi's, blessed be an Ami. And please follow me so you don't get lost. We'll see you. Bye.